Hello everybody, I am Miroku and I'm voicing over today's rant about stuns in ESO. So the primary reason why people run stuns in ESO, and in PvP mainly, is to use them offensively. And what stuns are supposed to achieve in such a fast-paced game like ESO is lock down your enemy and to guarantee hitting them with a much harder hitting skill, which will increase the potential of killing that target. Because ESO has so many mitigation mechanics that every player has access to, every single one of us has access to these mechanics, which are raw dodge, block, and healing, and a multitude of other mitigation mechanics. A stun is an essential part of PvP to stop your opponent from recovering from your meaningful skills and combos. Without stuns, your enemy would have too many ways of reacting to a burst combo, and it would be too hard to kill even your most average of ESO players. Previously, Maxhawk and Stamblade, which were the two most notorious classes for extreme burst in PvP, which is what they were the best at for multiple years, because their main abilities had stuns tied to them, which made their burst windows very impactful and very strong and very, very scary. That's why the classes worked well, they did what they were supposed to do. Sadly, the stun from frag and endcap both got removed and either taken away completely or given completely different kinds of CCs. So all these classes have resorted to using stuns which either deal no damage or have very little damage tied to them, such as mass hysteria, flame reach, and reverb. Reverb being the most potent out of all of these three, as it used to have major defile attached to it and was very easy to animation cancel, and it was melee range. And everybody played around these two GCD burst combos which are the most meaningful. We had more time to let our dots tick, and more time to stop our enemy from healing and applying more pressure to them. You stunned your enemy and you followed up with a damage skill that did the most meaningful amount of damage in order to have a much higher chance of executing your opponent right after. The game was in a much healthier state because of the way that the burst combos used to work. The most meaningful damage skills on majority of specs are their ultimates, with exceptions such as Nightblades having Grim Focus, which is delayed due to its ranged nature. Now in Scalebreaker patch, the devs decided to add cast time mechanics to most of our ultimates, which made it simply impossible to land an ultimate after a traditional stun. People break free, roll dodge, and mitigate all damage. People resorted to abusing Offbalance and Dizzying Swing, which were the only mechanics in the game which allowed a guaranteed stun and follow up with an ultimate. Dizzying Swing was so potent because it didn't have a traditional stun but a knockback, and knockbacks are very unique in ESO because of their very weird knockback nature, which only allows you to break free after a certain amount of time during the air. It's a very powerful ability. And because Dizzying Swing now grants Offbalance, which is an off global cooldown stun in the form of heavy attack, which is why Dizzying Swing is such a very, very, very heavily abused skill of the moment, because it allows you to very easily land up your burst. In Dragonhold, the devs decided to turn the knockback of Dizzying Swing into Offbalance, so we're in a strict Offbalance meta right now. Everybody uses Offbalance in PvP currently. If we do not use Offbalance, then we simply cannot run an offensive stun anymore. Offbalance is abused by everyone, Stamina, Magicka, and even hybrids. Simply every single spec in the game uses them. I've seen Maxhawks and Nightblades use Offbalance to stun because it's the only stun that works in the game and allows you to guarantee that your burst will work. Stuns like Turn Evil and Mass Hysteria, and even Streak to some degree, have become worthless because they are only used in a very defensive manner now. I would not run any kind of stun in the game anymore. I do not run Fear, I do not run Turn Evil because they are not worth using. That's simply how terrible these stuns work now, because the game is so counterintuitive with its old stuns, as they do not fit in with the current meta anymore. And because stuns are so weak, everyone plays around these 1 GCD burst combos. Burst combos are insanely predictable, and executing your opponent is insanely hard, since most of these skill combos do not deal enough damage to bring your enemy down to execute. There are also no defiles that will stop your enemy from recovering from a burst combo. Therefore, rolling away and blocking is stronger than ever. Recovering from any kind of damage is easier than it's been in multiple years of this game. Options to counter rolling and blocking are very limited and basically non-existent too, outside of Vampire's Drain. And that is why we are in a currently tank meta. The current tank meta does not exist because of high health pools or passive mitigation, even though there are a lot of those mechanics in the game. It is because the game is so clunky now and feels so slow, which is why Magplar is one of the most strongest and most potent classes in the game currently, because it has very few cast times on its main burst skills. Punching Sweep, even though it is a channeled ability, deals a fair amount of damage, and Purifying Light and Crescent Sweep are extremely potent skills, especially since they can crit now. Boom, baby! Not only are the ultimates slow and the burst windows very small, the cast times now also randomly cancel out or do not fire their damage while consuming your ult. In laggy situations, those cast times never hit, and I wonder if the devs have even tried casting the ultimates in Cyrodiil and EU past 5 PM UK time. I can say from experience that if I have no access to Offbalance, Incapacitating Strike almost never hits anymore in an open world scenario. I have played no CP Stamblade for about 3 weeks now, and it is so painful to see how underwhelming Incap is as a skill on no CP, and how it is basically useless outside of initial opener with Cloak. My enemies can very easily react to my burst now, and they can very easily block and roll dodge away into Narnia, and there's nothing I can do about it. The game is counterintuitive to the very counterplay it wanted to implement now. So the only way this ult would ever work without Offbalance being present is if this ult did way more initial burst damage to a point where it could bring down most of the enemies that you face to execute range. But then the game is nowhere near a healthy state as every single skill is overtuned. The worst thing about Offbalance is how overloaded it is. It is an off-GCD mechanic that is widely accessible and gives the most infinite sustain, which makes your heavy attacks hit a lot harder than they should. This screams nothing less than a big fat nerf in the last few patches, when they wanted to undo this style of play, and have instead incentivized it even more. Even worse further is the fact that most classes in the game do not have a reliable source of off-balance in their kits, such as Nightblade, which needs to stun the most in order for their entire kit to work, and in no CP, I am stuck with a version of my class that is only about half as strong as it is in CP, because I do not have access to a very easily usable version of Offbalance in my roll dodge with the Tactician passive, which is why Offbalance on Dizzying Swing is so extremely potent and very strong. Zenimax says that class skills should be stronger than weapon skills, but currently Dizzying Swing is one of the most used skills you will ever see in Cyrodiil. It is a better version of Surprise Attack, and it's a better version of a lot of other skills that existed throughout the game history. The only way to fix the game as it is now is either to remove cast times, or bring back stuns with high damage abilities such as ultimates. Then players could start playing around 2 GCDs again, and the game would feel a lot less tanky, and we could start playing around with much faster burst combos again. In conclusion, cast times are fucking shit.